Shame, the belief that we are flawed and unworthy of love and belonging. Growing up with undiagnosed autism, shame was a feeling that shadowed my every step. Today, I want to talk about my journey to freedom. When I was young, my favorite part of school was the weekly show and tell sessions. What I loved about show and tell was the chance to talk about my latest object of interest. Whether it was dinosaurs, guinea pigs, or insects, there was always a good chance it was an interest not shared by my peers. Yet all that truly mattered to me was that I had a captive audience. Because outside of show and tell, trying to explain to someone the anatomical difference between a spider and an insect usually ended with the other person walking away. This never failed to confuse me. How could they not value factoids the same way I did? Often I felt that I was somehow out of sync with other human beings. In an effort to bridge the divide, I turned to other tactics. One time, I borrowed one of my mother's sapphire rings for show and tell. But instead of using it for its promised purpose, I found myself instead offering it to a girl who was, just a few days later, transferred to another school. I did this in the belief that maybe this act of kindness would earn me some kind of favor, maybe even a new friend. It was only later that I realized I'd made a mistake. Until the moment I gave her the ring, the girl in question had never shown the slightest interest in me. When I returned home embarrassed to explain my actions to my mother, I was met with silence. It felt like an affirmation of an unspoken truth, that I was not only different from others, but stupid too. Most of my early life was spent stumbling through the dance of social connection. This dance, I understood, was a necessary first step towards friendship. As frivolous as it seemed to me, I persevered, storming the dance floor. Sure enough, I stepped all over my partner's toes, and it usually didn't take long for them to ditch me. As a result, I spent countless hours alone, tending the fires of my passions, from collecting coins through to cataloging gemstones. At the merest of kindnesses from my peers, a hello, a smile, a polite question, I would explode into chatter. For a time, I believed I could endear myself to these people by showering them with morsels of information. But my efforts only had the effect of creating disconnection. My earliest memory of this feeling of disconnection took place in kindergarten. One lunch hour, I received a rare invitation to join a game of Prisoner's Base. After I was tagged by a member of the opposite team, I was taken prisoner in the jungle gym. Here I was to remain, awaiting rescue. And so I waited, and I waited, until, at last, the bell for class rang. Why, I wondered, had no one come for me? Hurt and confused, I took a vow of social abstinence, using lunch break to play make-believe on my own or to read. This solidified my status as an outsider. Still, what other choice did I have? I'd seen how my peers sneered when I spoke or exchanged glances. There were others who would cut in line ahead of me on the handball courts, as if I was invisible. I became convinced that no one cared for me, that I was not worthy of anyone's acceptance. Thus, I continued to lead a life interior, chewing over the same painful refrain. You are worthless. You are unlovable. Over time, I developed a false pride, undercut by shame and self-criticism. The problem, I convinced myself, was not with me, but with others. It was not me, after all, who had rejected them. It was they who had rejected me. For the majority of my childhood, adolescence, and early adulthood, I led a lonely but safe existence apart from others. Then, in my mid-20s, I received a diagnosis of autism. At last, I saw with clear eyes the fault line that ran through the foundations of my life. Before diagnosis, my life resembled a black and white etching, without color or depth. But after diagnosis, it began to assume all the richness and color of an oil painting. For diagnosis had brought a new understanding, that the shame I'd long carried in my heart was undeserved. I was not a bad or flawed person, as I'd always believed, but someone who had been terribly misunderstood. In the face of constant opposition, I had shown endurance, strength, and resilience. I was a survivor of systemic ableism. And with this realization came another. I no longer needed to live a life sentence of solitude. The skills that I had lacked could be learned. As for the friendships that had failed to take seed, these could be nourished into new life. Equipped with new knowledge about myself, I understood that the connection I'd craved could indeed be mine.